The federal government has secured deals with two U.S.-based pharmaceutical companies to ensure Canadians have access to a potential COVID-19 vaccine. But one company here at home is calling for more support for what they call a made-in-Canada solution to the virus. Brad Sorensen, the CEO of Providence Therapeutics, joins me now from a very early Calgary. Thank you for being with us, Brad.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Tell me about your findings so far. You have just completed trials on mice. If you can explain to us laymen about what your findings have been.
Sure. So the data that we shared yesterday, basically what we were able to do is generate very high levels of neutralizing antibodies towards the spike protein in the coronavirus. And that is very similar to, as you mentioned before the break, the government of Canada is looking to purchase vaccines from a company in the US and another one in Germany. And these are mRNA vaccines. And the data that we released yesterday is also an mRNA vaccine and is certainly equivalent and most likely superior to those that the government is looking at right now.
And why is it important, do you think, for a made-in-Canada vaccine?
I think there's two reasons for it. Number one, it's important for the safety of Canadians, and we've seen going out and getting a license or a deal with a company doesn't necessarily assure that that company is going to be able to deliver you the vaccine. We've seen that with CanSino, where the Chinese government is holding up the vaccine at the border and not allowing it to be shipped to Canada for testing. We saw that with PPE. There was a major US company that had a contract with Canada to provide masks. And when it was time for those masks to be delivered, it wasn't the company, it was the US government that held up the masks at the border. So I think that just from a security standpoint, it's important to have a source within Canada, and everything that we do is made here in Canada.
And would that also, could it possibly have an effect on the price? Like maybe the price would get jacked up.
Certainly, we're not looking to cash in. I mean, if we get support from the Canadian government, I definitely believe that you're going to see that our vaccine will be less costly, a superior vaccine for less cost. The other fact I would point to is the Canadian government just, validated the importance of messenger RNA vaccines. I mean, both of the deals they announced were for the same class of technology, and that's the technology we use. But those are the only two companies in the world that are producing messenger RNA vaccines besides Providence.
Wow.
They can't supply the whole world. So if Canada is out competing for supply from Germany and from the US, then, you're adding to this problem that the world has where everybody's going after a limited resource. Whereas the Canadian government could focus on a Toronto-based company, Calgary-based company, and we could instead take that from two companies in the world that are producing this type of vaccine to three.
Right.
And we could be helping solve the problem as opposed to making the problem worse.
So you're asking for $35 million for the federal government for human trials, yes?
That's correct, yeah.
And why do you think the government's sort of dragging its heels? Are they not sort of recognizing the value here?
I think that, typically when governments are looking at things, bigger's better. And so, they see, companies that are out there that are making, big news. Moderna's already received $1 billion worth of funding from the US government. Pfizer's obviously is partnered with BioNTech, and they're a large major pharma company.
Yeah.
So sometimes that gives them security, when they make the announcement that, they're doing something. But at the end of the day, what's really important is the data. And we've produced vaccines right here in Toronto at Sunnybrook Research Institute that are equivalent or superior to what was produced out of the US and out of Germany.
Well, good luck, Brad. I hope you find some success there. It certainly sounds like a very worthwhile enterprise, and you're hoping for a vaccine.
We're getting there. Yeah.
It must be exciting for you, actually, right?
Pardon me?
It must be exciting for you to have these findings and have
It is. I mean, I hope that I've got some of my folks in Toronto that have, I've got to give a shout out to the employees at Providence. They're working under extreme challenges with the pandemic restrictions, and putting in extremely long hours. And so I certainly want to thank all of the Providence employees and the collaborators and those that are working in their labs for the long hours and the hard work they're doing for this important project.
Well, we thank them too, and the world will hopefully be able to thank them too in the future. Thank you so much for joining us, Brad.
You bet. All the best.
All the best to you too, Brad Sorensen.